Hello, and welcome to our latest economic and industry update, once again brought to you by Greenbrier's marketing team. I'm Mallory Moran, and I'm joined by Jay Carter. Thank you to everyone who provided feedback on our previous videos. We hope you'll continue to find them helpful. Jay, it's so good to see you here in person today at Greenbrier Gunderson. For today, I'd like to kick off with one of the broadest economic metrics, the GDP, which measures the amount of goods and services produced. Jay, what are you seeing?
Well, thanks, Mallory. I'm pleased to join you again and in person here at Greenbrier Gunderson. Since we last spoke, GDP for the second quarter of this year was revised up from 6.6% to 6.7%. The real GDP for 2021 is forecasted to grow 5.9% and 4.3% in 2022. Now, while these are good numbers, they have been revised downwards.
I imagine this is due to the supply chain since there's so much uncertainty there.
Exactly. There continues to be labor and equipment shortages at global ports. We expect these issues to hamper additional growth in the near term. Also, we saw consumer confidence decrease in August as the Delta variant impacted spending habits. For example, the number of people dining out and passing through airport security decreased.
Speaking of consumer confidence, inflation is an important factor in that. It's something we're also seeing reported frequently in the news. Will you walk us through what you're seeing?
The U.S. inflation rate reached a 13-year high recently and is likely to stay elevated in the coming months before moderating, according to Chairman Jerome Powell. Now, the Fed's long-term inflation target is roughly 2 to 2.5%. Headline inflation averaged 4.6% in March. However, the monthly increase rate has slowed recently. Also of note, core inflation has declined for the past 3 months and appears to be moderating, albeit above the Fed's 2% long-term target. We anticipate inflation to steadily recede over 2022.
Since you brought up the Fed, Jay, what do you anticipate for interest rates?
The Fed will likely begin tapering its asset purchases later this year in an effort to begin countering the current elevated inflation levels. However, it's kind of hard to predict because they will likely wait until the labor market is nearing maximum employment, which could be the second half of 2023.
Now I'd like to transition away from the broader macroeconomy. We've seen a lot of commodity drops and spikes over the last year. And as a railcar manufacturer, steel is obviously the biggest one. Jay, how are current steel prices?
Steel prices, while being significantly elevated, appear to have crested. Steel futures have declined in the past month or so, while spot rates have remained.
On the other side of high steel prices are high scrap rates. Are the high railcar scrapping rates continuing?
Yes, absolutely. Scrap rates for rail cars will hit record levels this year, roughly 60,000 units. However, scrapper backlogs are filling and will limit demand.
Undoubtedly, that will be something you continue to monitor and is a good segue. How are current North American rail volumes?
Well, currently, rail volumes are up 8.5% year over year. Overall volumes have decreased due to tougher comparisons in the second half of 2020, but there has also been a reducing grain, intermodal, as well as auto volumes. Many railroads have metered their intermodal traffic to maintain their network fluidity. Also, supply chain shortages have hampered auto manufacturing.
Now, I know that due to traffic and rail volumes, the fleet's utilization will vary based on railcar types. But first, how is the overall fleet utilization?
Well, overall, utilization has improved for the 15th consecutive month, which is impressive. In 2020, the fleet shrank for the first time in over a decade. Now, we expect another significant shrink in 2021 by about 30,000 rail cars.
Are there any railcar types that you'd like to highlight?
Yes, a few. Boxcars and intermodal units are fully deployed. Some, like gondolas, have seen increased usage due to high commodity prices. On the other hand, sand cars and storage remain elevated, and automotive rail cars were added to storage exponentially throughout the year, most notably due to chip shortages.
Overall, the theme seems to be that there continues to be significant pressures on commodities and supply chains, impacting areas across the broader economy as well as the rail industry specifically. Any final thoughts, Jay?
Yes, Mallory, I want to go back to inflation and its implications on rail. Railcar manufacturers should expect some incremental margin pressure due to inflation in commodities such as steel, shipping, and labor. Now, while the underlying demand for new rail cars has not wavered, continued commodity inflation on key inputs will eventually provide a headwind to demand broadly. Now, some large suppliers will pass price increases on to railcar builders with higher component costs. However, smaller suppliers will see margin deterioration. Also expect incremental margin pressure due to supply chain delays that are inflating inputs along with inflated labor.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you'll find this video valuable. Be sure to check out next quarter's edition.